Alan Dean Foster is no stranger to LucasArts projects or the Star Wars franchise. After the original Star Wars came out in 1977, George Lucas hired Foster to write the movie's novelization, and when they were unsure if the movie would flop and they would be able to get Harrison Ford back for the sequel, they had him write what became the first expanded universe novel. Splinter of the Mind's Eye is not a good book, but it was the original sequel to Star Wars, until the movie exploded in popularity and Lucas made The Empire Strikes Back. After that, Foster began to write novelizations for other Lucasfilm properties, like The Dig, and eventually The Force Awakens. Perhaps Foster is still feeling the sting of his book not being the true sequel to Star Wars, because in May of 2018, he decided to write his own outline for how Star Wars Episode 9 should go. Welcome to The Absurds, my name is Gibby. This is Alan Dean Foster's Episode 9 pitch. Alan Dean Foster's version of Episode 9 was posted on his website 5 months after The Last Jedi came out. His website looks like this, by the way. It says, updated December 1st, 2019. Are you sure it wasn't December 1st, 1999, my guy? Anyway, he posted his outline here, and it's just awful. I read this before Episode 9 came out, and now looking at it again all these years later, it's crazy seeing anything other than the actual relationship and statuses the real trilogy left us with. There's gonna be some crazy twists along the way about what couples end up together in this script. So now I figured it would be a fun time to look at this piece of Star Wars fan fiction that was written by someone who actually has written for Star Wars before, and who expects us to take this seriously. This is very serious, guys. This is Star Wars Episode 9, Resurgence. Star Wars is known for its bombastic and campy titles: Attack of the Clones, The Empire Strikes Back, Resurgence. It fits right in. So the movie starts with Princess Leia's funeral. All of the surviving Resistance fighters are gathered on this snowy, mountainous planet that has green fields. They all walk along the fields and the mountains like a helicopter shot from Lord of the Rings. And they have an open casket funeral for Leia. I'm assuming that Foster wrote this funeral scene out of respect for Carrie Fisher, who died before she could film Episode 9, because nothing says respect like having to CGI her corpse into a movie that was filmed 3 years after she died. The real movie was filmed with her daughter acting out the part with CGI put over her face to look like her mother. I'm not sure Billie Lourd would have liked lying in a casket so they could make her mother look dead. So on the mountain, C-3PO comments that the planet they're on looks like Alderaan. And if you're a huge Star Wars fan, you would have already put that together, because we saw Alderaan for like 5 seconds in one scene of Revenge of the Sith. The only thing we know about Alderaan is that it's a snowy planet with some grassy fields. But if you don't know what Alderaan looks like, then this line means absolutely nothing to you. So then the crew gets back aboard the Millennium Falcon, and they wonder what they're gonna do next. Apparently, Leia died right after the events of The Last Jedi, because no one, not one of the main characters, has any idea what they're gonna do now that they've lost that battle. They escaped Kylo Ren, they got on the ship, Leia told Rey to stay hopeful, and then I guess she keeled over at dinner. So this funeral scene must be right after that movie ended. 3PO comments to R2-D2 that Rey seems familiar for some reason. This will be important later. The group decides that Finn should be their new leader. Keep in mind that Finn was a stormtrooper a solid 2 weeks ago. He defected, he lied to Rey about being in the Resistance, he was at their base for like a few minutes, got injured, woke up, left the ship, came back just in time for one battle, and then Leia died. No one here knows who this guy is. The planet that they're on is famous for being neutral in conflicts like the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. That's why they're able to bury Leia there without getting the First Order mad. I don't know why they think that the First Order will respect this planet's neutrality. This will be important for later. The group's plan is to send Finn and Rey to talk to the leadership of the neutral planet to get them to back the Resistance. Now, it's obvious at some point that they had contact with the aliens who run the planet, because they organized Leia's funeral. So the fact that this is occurring to them now is stupid. They marched down to City Hall to get a funeral permit, and only after the funeral were they like, hey, maybe we can ask them for some guns too. I'm sorry for the sarcasm, I'm just so defeated by the nonsense that is the first 2 scenes of this storyline. Foster then describes a set of scenes where they talk to the alien leaders, and the alien leaders go back to talk amongst themselves. And then they basically haggle back and forth about how much involvement the aliens are going to have with the Resistance. Finn eventually convinces them to supply the Resistance with weapons and ships. You know, things that a neutral planet would definitely just have lying around, and that the Resistance will pay them back. They don't say how the Resistance is going to pay them back. Keep in mind that the Republic was blown up a few days ago, the entire Resistance was wiped out like 2 days ago, and the only people who are left are those people who could fit inside the Falcon. Their coffers aren't exactly overflowing. The movie cuts to Coruscant. Rey, Finn, and Rose are there looking for Resistance fighters to join the cause. I thought Finn was just on the neutral... whatever. Everyone they meet is too scared to fight against Snoke. But Rey is like, wait, hold on. Snoke is dead, I saw him get cut in half. And they're like, no, he's at the Capitol building right now. Keep in mind, Star Wars has its own version of the internet. It's called the HoloNet. It also takes time to travel between planets, so we can assume that from the hard cut from the neutral planet where Finn was negotiating with the aliens to Coruscant where Finn is walking down on the streets, some time has passed. And no one in the Resistance thought to check space Twitter to see that Snoke conquered Coruscant and made a physical appearance in public so that people knew he was there. And no one who saw that told Rey, Finn, or Rose about it. That is what the script is saying. That is what Alan Dean Foster is saying. These guys passed through space customs the day after the planet had a hostile takeover and nobody told them. They decide to go to the Capitol building and see if Snoke is alive for themselves. Just like how my uncle went to the White House to try to pitch Joe Biden on his multi-level marketing scheme. So we cut to the Capitol building and the doors open and someone walks inside. But it's not Rey, it's Kylo Ren. He walks in, the new self-declared leader of the First Order, and he sees Snoke. In the prequels, Chancellor Palpatine had an office, but I guess Snoke just has a throne in the lobby, with no security, and he just sits there all day waiting for people to come up to him. Kylo cuts Snoke in half with his lightsaber, and then a new Snoke walks into the room, and he's like, "Oh, is my magic trick so amazing that it blew your mind? Now you're going to listen to my elaborate backstory." And that's good that he wants to hear him out instead of fighting him, because it's a really cool backstory, guys. Don't worry, his backstory's really cool. He has lots of clones, and cloning has gotten so good that it can mimic neural patterns in someone's brain, meaning that clones have the memories of the person that they're clones of. And while that does make sense in like a fantasy sort of way, a bunch of Snokes running around, and none of them trying to steal power from other Snokes, is very unbelievable. That's not how evil works in the Star Wars universe. It's not how people who lust for power work. It's not how Snoke works. We then cut to the narrator of this video, Gibby, reminding you that you should like and subscribe, and that he has a Patreon linked in the description, and that if you donate to him, or leave any sort of super chats in the comments, it will help get videos like this out faster. He then thanks you for watching and continues reading the script. After hearing Snoke's brilliant plan that he has clones, Kylo immediately bows down to him, undoing his entire character arc from the previous movie. Rey and Kylo Ren then have one of their Force Zoom calls like they do in The Last Jedi, and Snoke sees this and goes, "Oh, so you two are still connected," and Kylo hides from him the fact that Rey is on Coruscant. This ends up meaning nothing later. I don't know why it's in the movie. Foster just wanted to remind us that these kind of Force Zoom calls can happen. We then get a scene of Kylo Ren going to the police station. He describes Rey's physical appearance and they paint a wanted poster of her. Yes, I am serious. Yes, this is a scene in the script. Kylo lies and hides from Snoke that Rey is on the planet and then goes to the cops to make a wanted poster of her. This all happens in a very brief amount of time. We're talking it's been a few hours since they landed on Coruscant. But apparently Rose and Finn have found a bunch of people who now want to fight Snoke. And Finn reasons that they don't have to beat the First Order. They just have to beat Snoke, because that worked out so well when they beat Palpatine and the Empire just disappeared and didn't come back 20 years later as the First Order, right? Or when they beat Snoke the first time and the First Order just disappeared, right? This also ignores the threat of Kylo Ren, although I guess it is meant to mirror the same thing happening in The Phantom Menace. It's sort of like rhyming, it's poetry. Then there's a literal montage of the neutral aliens building ships for the Resistance, of Finn recruiting people, and of Rey hiding from the cops. General Hux, along with the First Order fleet, arrive completely coincidentally above the neutral planet. It turns out that Snoke is really obsessed with making them join the Second Empire, because they were neutral for so long. This is the first thing on his list of priorities. Within days of the destruction of the New Republic, the destruction of Starkiller Base, the death of Luke Skywalker, and the conquering of Coruscant, Snoke sent one of his highest-ranking military officers, and the Armada, to conquer a planet with no history of rebellion. This causes the neutral guys to rebel. They join the Resistance. Then, back on Coruscant, a group of civilians attack the Capitol building, led by Rey. Kylo informs Snoke that Rey is there, which makes him hiding this fact from him earlier completely pointless. Snoke is all like, "Oh, good. Once we kill her, there will be no more threats to us." Kylo asks him why she is such a threat, forgetting that he himself thought that she was a threat in The Force Awakens. Snoke responds with a flashback. We see Snoke as a young man. The script tells us that this takes place before The Phantom Menace. I am not sure how the movie is supposed to convey this information to the audience. The young Snoke meets a hooded figure in a dark factory, and the figure tells Snoke that the dark side is too much for him, and Snoke is all like, "Nah, I'm all powerful, it's fine bro, I got this." The two of them fight, and the hooded figure knocks Snoke into a vat of acid, which is how he got scarred. Snoke is the Joker. Then the hooded figure removes his hood, and we see that it's young Obi-Wan Kenobi. In a book, I guess this could work, but seeing as it's a movie and he has speaking lines, the audience would just instantly recognize Ewan McGregor's voice. This makes absolutely no sense as a twist. Also, if they're having a fight, we would have had to see his lightsaber. We would have seen it was blue. We would have seen it was Obi-Wan's hilt. This reveal does not work in a visual medium. So Snoke falling in acid is his entire motivation. He wants revenge on Obi-Wan for making him look scarred. He gets angry at Kylo in the present and he says, "Do you think I always looked like this?" So Snoke manipulated everything to kill Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Luke, Leia, probably Duchess Satine if Alan Dean Foster knew who that was, because he wanted to hurt all of Obi-Wan's family members and apprentices. This retcons that while the Clone Wars and the rise of the Empire and the destruction of the Jedi were all Palpatine's master plan, Snoke was actually puppeteering Palpatine, causing things like Maul killing Qui-Gon, Vader killing Obi-Wan, Vader sacrificing himself, Leia choking on her chicken nuggets. Also, I don't know why they couldn't have just cloned him a body that didn't have scars. I'm sure that's possible. So Snoke wants to kill Rey, but not because she's a Kenobi or a Skywalker, but because she's strong with the Force. So we just got Snoke's motivation for everything, the fact that he wants to hurt Obi-Wan. But since everyone Obi-Wan knew is now dead, his current motivation for fighting our main character is unrelated to his backstory. There's a space battle above the neutral planet. Hux makes sure to tell the audience that they have anti-lightspeed shields to prevent them from being rammed like Admiral Holdo did in The Last Jedi. Again, that was like 3 days ago. Then the X-Wings fire out drones that give them more attack power. This turns the tide of the battle. The Resistance is winning. We cut to Poe inside his X-Wing, and he's all like, "Oh man, I'm glad we were winning. I sure hope Rey is okay." And then it cuts back to Rey on Coruscant. Rey, Rose, Finn, and C-3PO for some reason storm the palace room. They see that Snoke is alive, and Kylo is just like, "Hey guys, Snoke is a clone, I guess." And then a bunch of Snoke clones that were just hanging out in the side room playing poker come rushing into the main palace room. They use the Force to freeze our heroes in place. Snoke commands Kylo to kill Rey once and for all. Kylo goes up to kill Rey. He swings his lightsaber, but at the last moment, something pushes Rey to the side. Kylo only slices off her scalp. She'll be fine. But what was it that pushed her aside? It was Luke Skywalker, who just walks into the room. He is unfazed that Rey was just scalped. Everyone is like, "Whoa, Luke, how are you alive?" And this is my favorite part. Luke tells us that he didn't die in The Last Jedi. Instead, he just got really tired, and so he went into a dimension between life and death to rest for a while. But now he's back. The script does not explain how he physically got off Ahch-To, which is the planet he was on, that he had no ship on. In The Last Jedi, we saw that his X-Wing was underwater, so we don't know how he left the planet. Although, to be fair, in the real Episode 9, Rey just lifts this out of the water and it's apparently capable of space flight. But now he's here, and he activates his blue lightsaber. You know, the one that Rey has, that she's been using the whole movie to fight with. Luke starts fighting the Snoke clones. Then, Rose and Finn run away to find the source of the Snoke clones, leaving Rey to die on the floor. Kylo walks over to Rey's body, and he finds out that she's still alive. Her head is cut open, and wires are sticking out, because Rey is a robot. Dun 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 dun! Or she's actually just part droid. She's enhanced. She's a cyborg. Kylo says, "Oh, that's why you mastered the Force so quickly." As if being part droid would help you spiritually connect to the essence of life in the universe. Remember how in this series, being more machine now than man is a bad thing? Rey then stands up, and Kylo and Rey start fighting. Finn and Rose find out that Snoke clones are made in the palace basement. Snoke took over the planet yesterday and moved his secret cloning facility into his new pad immediately. They plant explosives in the basement to blow it up, but then a door closes and Rose gets trapped on the side of the lab that has bombs. There's like a doorway between them. She's stuck on the side with the explosives, and Finn is safe. They have this like Kirk Spock moment, and they hold their hands up against the glass. And Rose is like, "I'm about to explode myself," and Finn is sad. Kylo makes Rey have a Force vision in the middle of their battle. We see Rey as a child. When she was a baby, she was born with a deformed skull, which was apparently so ugly that her parents made a doctor operate on her, and they had to fill parts of her skull with droid parts. We've seen cyborg people in Star Wars, like Lobot. Does this mean that Lobot has a better connection to the Force than Obi-Wan? I don't know. Rey's parents couldn't handle raising her for some reason, so they sold her to Unkar Plutt. And this information causes Rey to faint. Rey is on the ground unconscious. Kylo moves in to strike the killing blow, but Rey wakes up just in the nick of time and ignites her lightsaber through Kylo Ren's chest, killing him the same way that he killed Han. This is symbolism or something. These two bookends of Kylo's life are Han, hoping that his son is not a lost cause, and then Kylo walking up to Rey to kill her, but she wins because she was pretending to be asleep. Compare this to the real bookend in The Rise of Skywalker, which is genuinely one of the best scenes in Star Wars, regardless of what you think of the sequel trilogy. Luke has dwindled down the Snoke clones until there's only 3 left. The script then says, "A Jedi Master may fight on, but a lightsaber's power is limited." Which is just, like, not true. Like, yeah, lightsabers have batteries and they have to be charged every couple of years. This is the first time in all 9 movies that a lightsaber ran out of batteries. And it's during the final battle, which is insane. Rose sacrifices herself. She blows up the cloning facility. Luke, who's apparently holding 2 lightsabers, even though it explicitly said earlier he had 1 lightsaber, throws them at 2 of the Snokes and impales them. So now there's only 1 Snoke left. The final Snoke runs at Luke, who is unarmed, and Rey tosses Luke her lightsaber, which is, remember, is Luke's lightsaber, and Luke kills the final Snoke. He then goes and comforts Rey. Rey is all upset because she's part droid. Luke shows her his hand, and he's like, "Hey, I'm part droid too. Let's get out of here, kid." 3PO then sees that Rey is a droid, and he says, "Oh, that's why I thought she was familiar. She looks familiar because she's a droid?" They go outside. Luke collapses against a tree and tells Rey that the Force is finally in balance, and that she has to do one last thing for him. I am now going to read directly from the script. She says, "Anything." He smiles tiredly. "Just a little thing. Take care of the galaxy." Then Luke whispers his last words, "Aunt Beru," and he dies. His body doesn't disappear, meaning that he did not become a Force ghost, he just died. And his last words were Aunt Beru, because that's what Star Wars was building up to, Aunt Beru. I gotta read this last part verbatim as well. This is a quote from the script. C-3PO is there to comfort her. What now? Is the First Order Empire really finished? C-3PO doesn't know, but he has seen a great deal. And if he has learned anything, it is that nothing is ever really completely for certain. Reaching up, he touches her exposed skull portion. Has anyone told her lately how really beautiful she is? She sniffs, then starts to laugh. Of all the possible ships I saw people talking about in the new trilogy, 3PO and Rey was not one of them. Then the entire saga ends with Finn hugging Rey as Coruscant burns behind them. The last shot is of Luke's smiling corpse next to C-3PO. This guy who wrote this, Alan Dean Foster, is a published author who has been writing Star Wars for 40 years. There's just nothing I can say. The real Episode 9 was better than this script. I'm sorry, it was. I put a link to the script in the description, but this has been Star Wars Episode 9 Resurgence by Alan Dean Foster, and I'm astonished by what I just read. Thank you for watching. Be sure to be nice to each other in the comments, consider supporting the creators you admire, never lose sight of the things that are most important to you, and remember to tell all of your robot girlfriends how beautiful they are lately. This video was made with the support of my backers on Patreon. A link to my Patreon is in the description below, and I also have channel memberships available. I would never ask that anybody who doesn't have disposable income donate to my channel, or any YouTuber really. If you're under 18, if you have student loans, there's no reason for you to give money to people who make videos on YouTube. But I would very much like to shout out those people who do allow these videos to get made. Klaus, Eliza, Halmar, Lauren, Morgan, Nan, Rhiannon, Rosebud, Scott, Sophie, Thomgata, Amhidden, Haley, Jinx, Jose, Just That Spark, Rolo, Shadowmaster, Tanner McCoolman, and Genie.